Having signal trouble. I'm with it now, though. Okay. Good evening, America. Don't know if anybody's on yet or not. If not, it's okay, because this live will be made public. Unlike many of my other lives, I keep them private. This one will be made public. I'm here to talk about something that a path I didn't want to go down on YouTube, but I've thought about it and I believe I will go down this path. Yesterday I made a video honoring the life of a good Christian man and a good American that was tragically murdered yesterday. I didn't make nothing political. I was not being political. I said a man was murdered for his views, for his words, not for his actions. But he was killed because somebody didn't like what he had to say. And I was content to leave it at that. But some very sickening people in my comment section has changed my mind. Somebody in my comments said it's a tragedy. It did not happen sooner. And that lit my match. How can you sit there as a human being? How can you sit there as a human being, see a man get murdered live on the news, right in front of his wife, right in front of his 2 children, and say, it's a tragedy, it didn't happen sooner? Not an evil man, not a man who done people wrong, not a man who maybe sold fentanyl on the street, selling drugs to youth of America. No. He didn't sell drugs to the youth of America. He gave the youth of America a voice. He gave the youth of America hope and a chance to speak and think for themselves. And somebody has the audacity in the comment to say it's a tragedy that didn't happen sooner. I don't know what to make of that. I'm sickened by it. I'm angered by it. It's a very, very offensive, in which it's fine. We're going to be offended. This is life. And nothing wrong with being offended. But to go to the extreme of saying it's a tragedy that this didn't happen sooner. Talking about a man being murdered right in front of his wife and children. That is absolutely right. Anybody that says that is worse than... Human beings are the most cruel animals there are on this planet. There's no doubt in my mind. Never has been. Because we're intelligent. Human being is the cruelest creature God ever created. And the most compassionate. But when I read through my comments and seen for sure that one, where somebody said it's a tragedy for this man to be murdered. Oh no, I'm sorry. They said it's a tragedy that this didn't happen sooner. How can you think that? Back just a few years ago, I can remember seeing on the news that a man had attempted to break into Paul Pelosi's house. If you don't know who Paul Pelosi is, that's the husband of Nancy Pelosi. Okay? Just giving you a little history, or not, a little education here. Paul Pelosi is Nancy Pelosi's husband. And a man got after him with a hammer and tried to take his life. You didn't hear normal people saying, well, it's a tragedy that didn't happen sooner. No. Us people with half a brain highly disapprove of a human being trying to hunt down, chase down, and take the life of another human being. It's just not right. You'll never hear nobody with half a brain, with any morals, any God-given sense, say anything like that comment I read yesterday evening. The real tragedy is that he was taken way too soon. Taken way too soon from this life. Taken way too soon from his wife. His kids. His kids. God bless them. But they've had something stolen from them that will never be replaced. Those kids will have to grow up without their daddy in their lives, without their father. Who can they depend on more than their own daddy? And now he's gone because a thief, a murderer took from them. Took the strongest stability that family had. That woman, his wife, God love her, if she wants, she can get remarried. She may never. It's her choice. It's really none of our business. I hope people don't go after her in that way, but it's none of our business. But if she chooses so, she can find another husband, but them children cannot ever find another daddy. They don't have a dad now because that was taken from them, and they'll never get it back. Their rock, the foundation them kids are standing on, has just been ripped out from under them. That's a child's safe place, is his mama and his daddy in a good home. And they had a good home. Those kids, all they know is the stability and the strength of mama and daddy, and that's been taken from them. They'll never know what it's like again. They'll never have that just childish innocence anymore because of the selfish actions of people that disagreed with a man and was scared of his effectiveness in the American youth. It's I lack the words, but downright evil, shameful, pitiful are just what come to mind when I think about what happened yesterday. It's just truly a shame. And I can not believe the audacity of people that are celebrating this like this was a domestic terrorist. This was the furthest thing from a domestic terrorist, I believe, that there could have been. This was a great man. He done a lot for the youth of America. I know why he's gone. It's because he didn't change the way people think. That's what I was saying at first. And I had to think about it. No, he didn't change the way anybody thought. He would ask you what you believe or what you stand for, and you would tell him. And then he would ask you why you believe in it. He would make you think for yourself. He didn't make you think. He wanted you to think for yourself. Why do I believe the way I believe? Okay, I was taught this way, but do I know the reason maybe that I was taught this way? Or am I just quoting what has been programmed into my brain? People called him a fascist, and then when they get asked, do you know what fascism means? They don't even have a response. They don't even know what they're talking about. Please, youth of America, wake up. Learn to think. Learn to speak. Learn to fight for yourself. Learn to be better than just going with the flow. Most of you right now more than likely have just found me by scrolling. You're allowing input into your brain on a daily, just countless amounts of different input of different information, and you're not even, it's sticking in your brain, it's in the back of your brain, but you are not listening to, how do I feel about Charlie? God, I would say he was a hero of American youth. That's how I feel about Charlie. Charlie was, oh my gosh. I never met the man. Was never probably gonna meet the man. But for the last, I don't know, 4 years of my life, I have followed this man. Well, though, that's the thing, is people who are awake, man, people who are awake know who he is. People who are not just living off of a program. I mean, and I know people talk about the Matrix or whatnot. I'm not stretching as far to say all that, but it comes to a point that we just sit here and, like I said a minute ago, how half of you just found me is that you scroll. You did this right here. You're not even thinking about it. You're just sitting there. You'll watch maybe 30 seconds of video, 45 seconds of it. It's too long. Maybe it's a minute and a half. You don't even watch it all the way. You just look, boom, boom, and you just scroll. You're not in the pursuit of knowledge. You're just scrolling for your entertainment. And in those colleges that he went to, I believe them kids may have went there with, I believe kids went to college. I don't believe all those kids could have been the way that they are when they come out, because I've known some friends of mine that have went to college and they come out and I don't even recognize them. They're different. They have a whole different tune. Their brain is just programmed different. Their speech is different. But what Charlie was doing at them colleges, the kids are there for a degree, but unknowingly, they're getting taught philosophy. Yes, I got you on Facebook. I sent you a friend request as well. But they're being taught a philosophy, and they don't even realize it. You'll be there for, just say, an arts class, and or a history class, especially history or philosophy, and then they'll jack with your brain with their teaching, and they'll have kids completely trained to say this is bad tradition. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Yes, it is coffee. They'll say traditional masculinity is bad. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. That's what is being attacked more than anything, I believe, that matters besides prayer. Prayer number one. I'm sorry, I take that back. Prayer number one. Family number two. Traditional masculinity number three. Those are the three things that are being attacked no matter what. Those are the top three things that are being attacked. Those are the top three things that matter: prayer, family, and men standing up and being men. No, I did not personally know him. I got to be from back in wisdom. Profile pic. Yeah, I'm from the woods, but they're attacking. They'll get these college kids. These professors will teach these kids, hey, this is bad. Prayer is bad. Masculinity is bad. And you ask them, okay, why is this bad? And they don't even have an answer. It's pathetic. You want to be mad at them, but it's almost not even their fault. It is their fault for not being diligent enough to stop and to say, okay, I'm being taught this. Maybe I should study this. In life, you take everything with a grain of salt and you learn it for yourself. It's like your grandparents tell you. You believe none of what you read and only half of what you see. These college kids, these kids, their minds, the youth of America's minds are so impressionable. And any child's mind is impressionable. For example, if you take your child and you raise them in what you believe is the correct way, if you've impressed upon your child that something is important to you, such as family dinner. Family dinner is important to me, son. And by the time this boy is grown, if you've pushed your child right, family dinner is important to your son. But that's what's happened with the youth of America, is that they have been pushed and corralled into these ideals that they don't even understand. Do not even understand what they're saying. People think it's a bad thing to be a Christian. Charlie Kirk is known for being a Christian. A lot of people would question his faith, and it may have happened, but I never seen it. I never seen him answer the question of faith and falter in his answer. There was no doubt in his mind, and for plenty good reason. Whenever he will be questioned on how he stands on transgenderism, being transgender, he never faltered from where he stood. And that's how it's supposed to be. If you believe in something, if you're going to have guts enough to say something, you're going to have guts enough to stand behind what you say. You can't just make a claim and then back down and shy down whenever you get just any amount of pressure. That is also what's wrong with a good bit of youth of America, is that people want to back down. People want to back down. They want to just cower down anytime any pressure comes along. That's what's, oh my God. Take, for example, okay, we'll take yesterday for an example. The man was shot. Okay, a lot of shootings going on. You know what you don't hear about as much and what don't happen as much as what used to happen? The stories your grandpa will tell you. Your grandpa will tell you, "Oh boy, we used to get in a lot of fights back in the day," and they'll tell story after story after story of school fights, bar fights, fights on the job, you name it. They're talking about fights they've been in, and half of you in this in watching this stream right now, I guarantee you, half of you probably ain't had 10 real fights in your life. And your grandpa can sit there and tell you from the time he was 10 to the time he was 20, he probably been in 100 fist fights, whether it was just him and brother, him and some cousins. That don't happen anymore. People are scared of pressure. People fear pain in a way that is really incomprehensible to me. Like, what are you going to do? You going to hurt me? Okay, I'll hurt you back. People people stand down so quickly to adversity anymore. It's really embarrassing. Whenever and part of it is raising, part of it is part of it is definitely raising, but something that has become prominent in America is there's really no such thing anymore as a stay-at-home mother like it used to be. Whenever I was whenever I was a young child, and then my older relatives, they remember Mama being at home the whole and in the summer, every time they come home from school, Mama was home. Well, Mama's at the job now. School is raising your kids. The public education is raising your kids. The daycare is raising your kids. Mama and Daddy's not raising their kids. That's not how it was when I was growing up. I'm not even that old. I'm not old at all, but I remember a different reality than what these kids are growing up with today. I have a family member right now that him and his wife they're expecting their first child. Um, both of them work, and more than likely than not, uh, the the wife will continue to work once she gets past her pregnancy. It will happen. She will continue to work. She's done said that, and that kid is going to grow up, go into daycare, spending a lot of time in public education, being just not heavily indoctrinated, but it's the small things. The Bible talks about the little foxes that spoil the vine. It's those. I'm not a psychologist by no means, but it's just those micro tidbits, my, okay, like microplastics entering your body from drinking a bottle of water. If you know any health at all, that's a real problem. Is those microplastics? You'll drink a bottle of water, you'll eat food that's wrapped in plastic wrapping, and it'll have microplastics in it. Extremely. There's no there is no quick results that show up in your body, but after years and years, you've got a buildup of plastic. You've got a buildup of artificial estrogen just in your body. If you're a man, this is affecting the way you think. I'm losing you. Well, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. There's just so many things affecting not just the youth, but the there are a lot of things. This donut right here, this right here is a lot of sugar. I know that it's unhealthy. I know that, and I'm sitting here consuming it, telling you that this is unhealthy, and I know it's unhealthy, but I'm gonna eat it anyways. People don't care about their well-being and the well-being of others. What I'm doing right here is selfish. Now, I'm not a married man. I don't have a wife and kids. But if I was, I probably wouldn't eat like this, because this is selfish of me to put something that damages my body. This right here is damaging my body. It's nothing. It's nothing noticeable right now. I could get up. I could run a mile. I could do a lot of push-ups. But this is deadly. And if I keep on with this right here, this will cause me a lot of problems down the road. And that's what I mean by micro doses of bad psychological training that is affecting the Americans. And that's what, not about the food, not about the plastics I was talking about, but the principle of micro doses. That's what Charlie was dealing with these kids, with these young Americans, is that these kids have just had these small doses, and it's like compound interest. These kids have had all these small doses just pile up, and pile up. And then they get to them colleges he went to, and then they really start piling it on. And Charlie is not just he wasn't just having to face just that little bit of college teaching. But for some of these kids, not all, but some of those kids, he had to face years of just mental programming. Because that mess don't start. You're not just like that from college. If you grew, unless you grew up in a rural area like I have, whenever you graduate from a rural area like I have, there may be 800 people in my town, for example, maybe 800. I might be stretching. Small community. Awesome place to live. It's gone a little downhill in the past few years, but it's a small community. Everybody's well packed. I live in the Bible Belt. I'm in the state of Louisiana, living in the Bible Belt. We're not affected by this more more complex public education system. Yes, we have public education, but the teachers there, I mean, they grew up with your mom and dad. Okay? So they're not really pushing these ideals on kids. But you get to these bigger public schools, like in the towns Charlie would go to, and you're just dealing with a bunch of liberals. You're dealing with a bunch of people who have just been indoctrinated into, I'll just go ahead and say this, have been indoctrinated to the point to where we are feminizing we are feminizing the men, and we are trying to make women more manly. That's where we're at in America. That is pretty much the key. That's pretty much the key to it all. Is men have become more womanly. Women have become more manly. And that's not the way that your home is set up to be. That is not the way your family unit is set up to be. That's not the way God arranged. That's not how God designed the family unit. God said it in the Bible countless times that the man of the house, the head of the house, the protector, the provider. I am not knocking women's importance at all. I love women. Women are very important in the home. I would not be the man I am. I wouldn't be in the mental shape that I'm in without my mother growing up in my home. But women are not designed to lead. That is not a woman's place. That's a man's place. Men are designed to lead. That's how God designed us. It's in our nature. You look at the animals, they don't follow all the young, the cubs, the lionesses. They follow the king of the tribe, and that's just how it is. That's Yes, I agree. Women are not like women were in the past, and I just strongly believe that's because of the influence that has been shown, uh, that has been put in people's paths. Um, who you choose, who I'm sorry, you have a choice, uh, eventually, but as you're younger now, as a child, you're gonna be influenced without knowing that's what that is. It's just point blank how that works. That's just life. You don't even know what the word influence is. You're 3 years old. You see Sally over there at the swing. You see her kick the rocks 9 times out of 10. You're gonna pick up on her habit. You're gonna kick the rocks too, at the playground. Um, but as a younger child, it is the responsibility of your parents. Your parents have in their hands the responsibility of your well-being, not just keeping you out of harm's way, making sure you got a place to lay your head at night and keeping food on your table, but they have the responsibility of saying, "Hey, I want my child raised in what I believe is the most correct and right way possible. I need to make sure of what influences in their life." Whenever I was a young child, my mom and daddy didn't always let whoever I wanted to come home with me, and that was just that. No questions asked. I didn't ask why. If you asked why, you liable to find out you didn't want to ask why. It I'll never forget. There was a dude. We wasn't but 4 and 5 years old. Me and him was buddies. We were best buddies, on the playground. But my mama and daddy never would let me go home with him, and they never let him come home with me. They weren't mad at the parents. They weren't mad at the little boy. The little boy hadn't done nothing to them. But my parents were mature enough to see that uh, that this boy may have a few little problems that his parents don't deal with, and we don't want that influence over our son. My parents were smart enough to do that. Now that I'm grown, I make those choices for me. I choose what I allow to influence me, and even at the age I'm at now, things will influence me without me even realizing it. But the majority of the influence in your life, you can choose. You can choose who to be around on a day to day. You choose who to communicate with on a day to day. It is your choice. And whenever I became old enough to make those choices and distinguish for myself, um, I remember Charlie Kirk. Whenever I was growing up, I would see him. I would see the way he spoke, the morals he stood for, the ground he stood on, the the stance that he took on life and on family, and that was important to me. The stance that man took was very important to me. He stood for his family. He stood for just the American family. He stood against things that are not natural, such as the transgenderism that has I don't even know if this is the word I want to use, but it's terrorized this country. That is just, it seemingly took over. It's everywhere. And it's not right. God is not pleased with it. It's not natural. It is not natural at all. God never designed a human being to be that way. That is not God's plan. Charlie stood against those things. Charlie stood against really one of the things that I admire the most, because they're the most valuable things ever, is children. Children are the most valuable asset anybody could ever have. And not just, it's not talking about money. When I say asset, that is your bloodline. That is your bloodline. Anybody's kids, children are the most valuable thing in this world, in this universe. Not America, not over there in Asia, but in the world. These children are the most valuable things. And Charlie was against parents making the choice to let their children be mutilated and just turned over to a doctor just where he could sew on whatever he wanted to or cut whatever he wanted to. These kids, at 6 years old, these kids don't know what they want to be. I didn't even know if I wanted to be a firefighter or if I wanted to be a professional bass fisherman. Kids don't know at that age what they want. 9 times out of 10, whatever you say you want to be as a kid is what you've heard somebody else say. Think about it. If you're a logger as a man, and your mom, or I'm sorry, your wife asks your son, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Or your teacher asks, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And that boy is probably gonna say, "I want to be a logger, just like my dad." Kids are, um, kids are just, they're impressionable. They're gonna do whatever they think, is just what they're supposed to do. And Charlie took a hard stand against, people, against people trying to allow their kids just to be impressed upon that they should change their gender. You cannot change your gender. There's no such thing as change your gender. You can't change what you are like that. You can change things about yourself. You can change your mindset, you can change your physical form, but you cannot change your DNA and your biology. That's unnatural. What does this say? It's really ironic. You talk about indoctrination. You aren't going to be to it, but you were indoctrinated to believe thousands of parents are allowed children to do. That's not indoctrination, buddy. That's a fact. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm not going to entertain this nonsense you're coming up with. That is not indoctrination. That is facts. I'm sad to say it, but in the school and the town where I live, okay, there were some parents that signed off on their kid like that. And I say signed off, almost like you're giving them up, because that's pretty much what you're doing. You don't love that kid enough to care for him. Now, that kid went to a doctor's office and did not come out the same. I'm going to put it like that. That's not indoctrination. That's a fact that I've seen with my own eyes. I don't want to hear that bull. I will not tolerate. Well, I say tolerate. I'm not going to entertain that foolishness that you just said. And that's enough of that. But I was very thankful for Charlie's stance on all of that. He, people hated him, and they didn't even know why. Funny thing about us human beings, we get set to a point to where we have an idea in our minds, whether we come up with it or whether somebody else gave it to us. And once we get that set, it's usually hard to change our minds. And some people are just not bright enough and will say and will think that their way of thinking is correct no matter what. It's almost like that kid that argues with a teacher on problems in school. It just, it's aggravating to see how people will be so set in their way that they don't even realize just how foolish what they're saying really is. I just don't understand. Really, I said this way earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Whenever I made that video just honoring his life, I was not political, but I made a video yesterday honoring the man's life. And somebody said, it's a tragedy, it didn't happen sooner. I'm going to say it again. How in the world can you even begin to say that should have happened, that it is a tragedy, it didn't happen sooner? Like, what two brain cells do you have that click together, or if you even got that many? What stupidity crossed your mind to say that should have happened sooner? A man, regardless, screw politics, screw beliefs, screw how you feel about him as a Christian, just set Christianity aside, set politics aside, set all that aside. How would you feel if maybe your best friend, or if this happened to you, if right by you, if you're a wife, or if you're a child, or if you're the father, watch the thing that is most precious to you be taken from this earth, and just like that, in an instant. Close your eyes, open your eyes, it's over with. Just like that, the thing that you've held so fast to, the thing that has been your rock and your stability, has been your leader this whole time, was taken from you just like that. How would you feel about that? How dare you say that it's a tragedy, it didn't happen sooner? Oh, it's a tragedy, this is how I interpret that. It's a tragedy this man didn't lose his life sooner in front of his wife and kids. Really? I mean, really? Is that the gist of what you're saying? Because, I mean, did you put any thought into that statement? Did you put any thought whatsoever into saying it's a tragedy, it didn't happen sooner? The man died, was murdered, taken right in front of his wife, right in front of his kids, right in front of a lot of people that have never seen somebody die, have never wanted to see anybody die. There were grown men, grown women there. There were probably a good bit of people there that didn't agree with everything he said. Matter of fact, everybody there, nobody there, agreed with 100% of what Charlie Kirk had to say. I don't agree with 100% of everything Charlie had to say. You are never going to find somebody in life that you agree 100% with. If you do, they're playing you for a fool. You will never find anybody and say, it's amazing. Every single thing they say, I agree with 100%. That don't happen. That will never happen. I don't, like I said, I didn't agree with everything he said. People that disliked his views, disliked his politics, even disliked his stance, didn't agree with everything he said. But for people that were decent enough and had humanity, they were visibly shaken to see a man's life be taken. A human being, not a politician, not not a Christian, not a man standing against something you believe, but a father and a husband. And for people to celebrate that like it's some victory, this is not a victory. This is a tragedy. On neither side, nobody deserves that for just speaking words. Okay? Am I saying that nobody deserves that, period? No, that is not what I'm saying. I believe there are people out there that do deserve that. But they have done actions to deserve. This man did no evil action. This man spoke words. This man spoke philosophy. I don't believe that those professors that were teaching bad ideology at them campuses, I don't believe they should be killed. I don't believe they should die. I don't agree with what they teach, but I'm never going to think that they should be taken from this earth just because of some words. That's foolish. I mean, they're just words. They cannot physically touch you with words. I would say I'm at a loss for words. I have a lot of words, but none of them nice about this. This is really testing my. This tests my patience. This makes me question things. Uh, and I guarantee you, and I know this for a fact because I'm one of them. I've asked God, why did this happen? Why did it have to be this guy? Um, like God, why of all people? Why did it have to be Charlie? Why couldn't it have been a person of evil on this earth? Why couldn't this have been somebody maybe selling drugs to the youth of America? Not somebody that was giving to the youth of America, giving in a positive way, giving the youth of America a voice, giving the youth of America um, not just a voice, but giving them hope and giving them their own thought process, and not really giving, but just making them realize, hey, you're allowed to think for yourself. You are allowed to have your own thoughts that are not just generated by something you were taught in school, just what you were told at home. You are allowed to have your own opinion and own thought. That's fine. Nobody's taking that from you. That's what's called the First Amendment, and it's first because it's most important, the freedom of speech in this country, and it should be a universal freedom. No matter how bad of an ideology, a philosophy somebody has, you should be allowed to say whatever you want. Now, when I was in school as a kid, you pick on a kid and say, "Hey, I don't like that shirt." I'm not gonna say sensitive words on here, uh, because I'm not scared of getting banned, but I'm just not going. I'm not gonna say words like that just because I don't want you two to be a bunch of wusses about it. But you pick on a kid, we're just gonna say, "Hey, your shirt's funny," and You were allowed to say that. Now that kid might come over there and kick your tail. He might come over there and punch you in the face. I mean, everything you say and do has consequences, no doubt. That might happen, but you should be allowed to say what you want. Um, my shirt's funny. Well, it's a work shirt. What do you expect? Um, but never should you be. Your life should. I don't. There's just no way that your life should ever be taken just because of something you wanted to say, something you said and believed and stood on. That's just. That's unfathomable to me. I cannot understand it. Kirk was an ordinary man and was shot while doing something normal. Yeah, we're all ordinary men, every one of us. Why? Because God gives us a choice. That's why. God gives us a choice. God's a gentleman. God's going to give you a choice. God always has given the choice. The choice is ours, what we do in this life. Um, Charlie could explain that very, very well. Oh, if he were asked that question right now, if he could be asked, if there's so much evil, and I've been asked this question before, if there's so much evil in this world, why does God allow it? And sometimes I've had to question that for myself, because, I don't want to be that type of person that just says, stop believing in that deity that don't exist. Yeah, okay. Afraid of death? No, I'm not afraid of death. God's got me. God has us. God has his children. God has his people. No doubt about that. Charlie was one of his people. Um, no doubt in my mind. Charlie was one of God's chosen. Charlie allowed his. Not everybody is born equal. Um, some people are naturally talented. Some people have to work for a talent, such as playing the piano. Some people are born with a gift of being able to play a piano really good. Some have to work toward it. Charlie was a natural born leader, a natural born speaker. Charlie, uh, Charlie had it. Charlie had the gift from God. He was natural with his leading, natural with his speaking. He was just he was amazing, and he allowed himself to be used, and that's the highest calling you can have. Is that he used his ability, he used his talent for good, for the good of others, not just for his own personal gain, but he used it for the good of his fellow man. He did his best to help fellow man have thoughts for themselves, realize that that you have mental freedom. It's your choice. He was just so awesome. His legacy, it's amazing. I hope I hope people remember Charlie Kirk for years and years to come. Um, Charlie was an awesome dude. He stood for so much and he stood against so much. But above that all, above everything, he put God first, family second. And that's how it's supposed to be. That is how it's supposed to be. That's the way God's ordained our lives. Um, oh man, it angers me that he was taken out of this life. Um, he was a treasure for sure. He was a national treasure. National treasure. He was a treasure to the youth of America. Um, he was a treasure to just anybody that valued him. And even if you didn't value him, he was still valuable. The interactions that man has had over the course of the past, I guess 15 years, I believe, is the correct time span. Um, just an awesome dude. Awesome man. And I hope people remember him for a long time to come. This wasn't no. This dude wasn't fraudulent. This dude wasn't a put on. This was a sincere man who had sincere beliefs, who sincerely believed in raising his family to the best of his ability, leading his family to the best of his ability. Oh, he is his time of changing lives is not over. I believe. Now, I've heard people say that they believe a lot of lives will really be changed now, and I believe that it's not going to be as many as what some people are thinking, but lives will definitely be changed now, for through the incident that has transpired yesterday. Um, he will be he's just going to be remembered for his way of handling things, really. Not just the morals he stood on, but not many people. Um, yes, that's right. See, you're a good example, Nicole. You don't. I've been talking about this. You don't believe in everything he said, and that's fine. That is okay. Um, I didn't believe everything he said. I believed a lot of what he had to say. I didn't believe in everything he had to say. You know, I disagreed with some of what he said, but there's never so big of a disagreement, so big of a difference in opinion that justifies taking a life. If this would be a totally different situation if this man was a negative force for the American people, and not just being negative. He could have been just as negative with his words and with his his ideas and his teachings and whatnot, and that would have been it wouldn't have been okay in my eyes, but it would have been what it would have been. But never would that have been okay for him to be taken out of this life. If he was just as equal on the opposite force. But if he would have been a child trafficker, if he would have been a drug trafficker, if he would have been an abuser of children, he would have been somebody that takes advantage, I will say, of these kids, and by take advantage, I'm deeply implying something further than just mental. If you know what I'm saying, if you know, you know. If you don't, somebody in the comments can explain it for you. But I deeply imply that if he would have been abusing way beyond the mental, of young Americans, that would be a totally different story. What are my thoughts on that woman that was stabbed to death on the train? I think that is just a tragedy. No less important, no less infuriating, no less. I feel the same about her murder as I do Charlie Kirk's murder. Was she a well-known individual? I'd never heard of her until uh, the news hit. Never heard of that woman. Probably never would have. She probably would have never been no influencer. She probably would have never been recognized on a public setting. But I am just as infuriated at that woman's death as I am Charlie Kirk's, because there was no cause. That woman was sitting there minding her own business, riding a subway. She's out of Ukraine thinking she's safe. Ukraine, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Ukraine is an absolute war zone. And I'm not here to talk about the Ukrainian war. I will be honest and tell you I don't know enough about it to hold an in-depth conversation. I know it's been going on for 3.5 years now. I know that a lot of Russians have died and a lot of Ukrainians have died. I know that both sides have done some sketchy mess. Other than that, I don't intend to talk about it because I don't know that much about it. But what I will talk about is that poor Ukrainian girl that tragically lost her life on that train. A needless, pointless killing. There was no... And what's so sickening about that, as if her getting killed was not sickening enough, her being stabbed in the back, so to speak, was not infuriating enough. To have people in the train with her, as far as I am from this phone that I'm streaming on right now, people as far away from that phone as I am from that phone. People were that close, and nobody done anything to help this girl. They just sat there, watched and looked on. Why? What's wrong with America? It's like I said earlier, we're soft, we're selfish, we don't care about our fellow human being. That ought to be very, very, very easy to spot, easy to tell. Just in this past week, with all the murder and all the crime going on, I was looking at the news today. I didn't read the full story, but if I remember right, it made the news that I'm pretty sure you can't write this in stone. Some fact checker can check me here in a second, but I want to say today in Dallas, or maybe yesterday, they found a man beheaded behind a hotel in Dallas, Texas. What's wrong with America besides would I have done something if I was on that train? Ain't no doubt in my mind. I may have gotten killed in the process. I may have died along with that girl, but I promise you, I would not have sat there and allowed that to happen while I'm still breathing. Never. Nobody around my area was raised that way. I was not raised that way. There are people in my life right now I don't even like. I don't even like some of the people that I'm around sometimes. But if somebody jumps up with a knife like they did in that subway, I may not like this person, but I'm fixing to defend this person with my life because that's the right thing to do. Okay, that is morally right. It wouldn't. I couldn't sleep with myself at night knowing I could have done something to save somebody's life, and I sat there and watched. I let them by and let them have their way. As fast as that man moved, if I'd have been on that train, I believe he would have got the girl before. I really believe. I don't think I could have been fast enough to stop it. But you know what? After he stabbed that girl, I would have come after him with everything in me. If I could, if I couldn't have made it in time, and if I could have made it in time, I would have been no less as vigorous to stop him. Because you can't. That's not natural. It's not. I'm sorry. That is natural, and that is human. That our carnal nature, our deep down flesh, it's in us to do that. But morally, why? Hold on, let me read your question. Why? Let me read it in what I'm thinking. Why risk your life for another human being? That's just dumb, bro. Is that what you're saying? Why risk my life for another human being? Because it's a human being. If that were you on that train, and maybe you were an immigrant, what if you were an immigrant? What if you were on vacation visiting somewhere in France and somebody from the back jumped up and come your way, you don't even know it, and they're coming with a knife? You're going to hope, you would wish that another Frenchman would jump up and grab whoever that is, maybe try to stop them. I mean, come on now. It's a human being. Look, I understand it. Immigrants in America is a big issue right now, big issue always has been. But they are human beings, and they don't deserve death for just sitting there minding their own business. I don't understand how in the world stop the drugs. That's hilarious, man. I don't even know. I hope you can get some help. That's all I want to say to that. I'm not going to entertain no more of your nonsense. I don't entertain nonsense. But what I do entertain is people coming together. People tend to come together when tragedy hits, whenever hard times hit. It's just people that really necessarily don't even like each other. Who's not acknowledging you? Me or old goofball over there? Don't need people like you. Okay, yeah. People just tend to come together. You're trying to save the country. That's good. You just do that. Okay. You're trying to save this country. I'm gonna entertain you for a second, and then after that, if you got anything retarded, fire retard to say, then we'll see. Um, you're trying to save this country. If people listen to Kirk, we wouldn't have the problems we have now. This stream is partially dedicated to Charlie Kirk. Okay? Kirk, I put it like this. I believe I believe Kirk would have, if Kirk hadn't have known the individual that shot him, and Kirk saw that individual getting attacked on a subway, I believe Kirk would have jumped up to save that individual. Why? Because that's the right thing to do morally. That's what men and women of tradition do. Is they try to help people. They try to help those around them. They try to better. They try to better the world around them by bettering the people around them. Speculating? Okay. Am I not allowed to speculate? This is a free country, in case you don't know. I don't know if you're American or not, but here in America, we're allowed to spectate all we want. Or speculate, excuse me. If you're wanting, you said yourself that if people would have listened to Kirk, then we wouldn't have the problems we have now. Won't you go back to a video about 2 months ago of what Kirk wanted to be remembered for? Kirk wanted to be remembered for his faith in Jesus Christ. And I'm going to tell you what faith in Jesus Christ do. Faith is believing and following something, okay? Jesus Christ, by example, would have wanted to save that woman. And if you ask me how I can say this, do you know what Jesus Christ called Judas Iscariot at the Last Supper? If you don't know, I'm about to tell you. But Jesus Christ called Judas Iscariot, the man that betrayed him, he called him friend. He called him friend. Jesus, all knowing, knew that this man was going to betray him, and he called him friend. Okay? Jesus, whenever Peter pulled out his sword and chopped the guard's ear off, Jesus told him, put your sword away. And Jesus put his hand over that ear and healed him. Jesus helped his oppressor. Okay? Nobody's perfect. Nowhere on this stream will you hear me say that anybody, that Kirk, that me, that anybody in this world is perfect but Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is perfect. Other than that, no, nobody's perfect. And yes, that's the direction this country should head. And look, you're allowed to have your opinions. You're allowed to disagree with him. You're allowed to disagree with me. If you were here face to face with me, I wouldn't. Not even Jesus was perfect. No, Jesus was perfect. Jesus was the spotless lamb. Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice for mankind. Jesus was perfect. But anyhow, you're allowed to think whatever you want. That's fine. If you were here face to face, and we disagree, then we just disagree. But we don't have to fight and try to kill anyone. Nobody has to die because of some words. I hope that I hope and pray that Charlie Kirk's wife and his children are going to be okay. I know it's going to be a long time before they're even a hint of okay. It's going to be so long, and they'll never truly be okay. It'll never happen. But I hope that they obtain peace at one point in their life. I hope that they feel safe and obtain peace. And it's going to be a hard road for them. We can do nothing but hope and pray for them. Keep them in your prayers. Uh, Charlie Kirk, too good of a man, gone way too soon. I hope America. I hope. I hope him losing his life in turn triggers a game for America in the way that he would have wanted it to gain. I hope that more people turn to God. I hope that more people turn to just just right morals. I hope people turn to what he pushed so hard for. The man pushed for so many good things and pushed hard against so many bad things. I hope that his legacy can live on in that way. I hope that I hope people just don't forget who he is and who he was. But most importantly, I hope they never forget what he stood for and what even in death he stands for. Yes, you reap what you sow. No doubt, Charlie Kirk planted a lot of seeds for the youth of America. He may not be alive to see what's going to be sown. Uh, or excuse me, he may not be able to see the fruit of the fruits of what he has sown. But at least if we just hold to what he taught, hold to his ideas, his teachings, we'll see his work um, come to fruition. I hope that the family is okay. I know they're not, but I mean, I hope that the family is okay. Um, Such a tragedy. If anybody in these comments has any news that has just recently hit about maybe the shooters, I would like to, I would like for you to put in the comments, uh, what the recent news is on finding the suspects. I want to know. I, I plan to closely follow this case. This is something that matters to me. I want to see justice brought um, to the people responsible for this man's death. I want to see justice brought, and it'll never truly equalize the horrific crime that has happened. But I hope that it can give the family some sort of a release, clarity. I want to see whoever this is that done this. I want to see them brought to justice. It's not fair. I know life's not fair, but this is especially not fair for this man to have passed in this way. Um, I just hope that his wife and his children, I hope they don't just hang on to this bitter feeling that they're going to have for so long. And I know it's going to be hard. I know it is. I hope that they're able to push out of the mental place that they're going to be in. I hope that they're able to take this tragedy, this huge wound, huge scar that's going to be in their life, and I hope they're able to take this and do something with it to mold it into something that can help them later on. God gives the strongest people the hardest trials, no doubt about that, and these must be strong individuals. His wife and his kids must be strong individuals and don't even know it, because that's who God gives the toughest trials to. And if anything, he does it to make you strong. Um, but I hope Charlie has found his rest. Not that he ever needed any. That man was stayed on go. That man stayed on go. Awesome man. Always just out there, just involved with so many people, with so many lives. It was just unreal. The reach and still the potential the man really hadn't even got to use yet. Um, I just hope that he is never forgotten. And if you're watching this, and if you have something you'd like to say about Charlie Kirk, please feel free to leave it in the comment. I have left just a small handful of how I feel about him. Very special man. May he forever rest in peace. I said this way on at the beginning of the video. I never intended to be a political person on YouTube. When I first started YouTube, I never wanted to be political. Never had no intentions. I was going to keep my political views out of my YouTube channel. But whenever that video I put up yesterday honoring him, whenever I put it up and somebody responded with, "It's a tragedy that this didn't happen sooner," it just flipped a switch in me. And I hope that any normal American can understand that. I don't know. It don't sit right with me whenever people seemingly celebrate the death of another human being, and that don't sit well with me. Never will. But anyhow, I'm going to wrap this live up. This live will be made public. If you would like to subscribe to the channel and keep up with what I've got going on, feel free. If not, that's fine too. If you love the channel, share it with a friend. Maybe they'll love it too. If not, that's okay. But anyhow, I'm signing off. God bless you. I hope that your reason for being on this video is to pay your respects to this awesome man and to his family, and not to slander his name. If you want to slander his name, we can argue about that. But anyhow, I'm going to end this live now. Like I said, I will leave the live public. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to come back and comment. Feel free to watch it again. God bless you. And I may do another live here within a few hours. I may not. But if I don't, good night. And if I do, I will see you people shortly. But I'm signing off. Take care.